Hi， 咁咧就呢個節目其實好可能咧喺台長嘅影碟情報室，亦都可能咧喺我李默文化頻道雙管咁進行嘅，因為咧就係嗰日講咗啦，喺邵飲音屋企咧呢兩位咁嘅法國嘅朋友啦，咁佢啲英文太好啦，咁有好多英文嘅專有名詞咧，我真係好牙烏嘅，咁所以咧有台長親自出馬啦。
唔係我啲英文都牙烏嘅，不過咧就。首先介紹呢兩位咧就係嚟自法國嘅朋友。係啦。And I'm very sorry that I don't speak French. But yeah,
you don't have to be sorry.
Yeah, I want to show off. And should I speak comment parlez-vous?
Très bien, merci.
C'est beau. I can speak five
French syllables.
But if you know this one, it's pretty good. You know.
Yeah, sure.
This is Thomas. Hello. This is Frederick.
Yeah.
Frederick.
Yeah.
We call him Fred. Yeah, and they saw. Oh, I don't know if they saw him because this may be the first program. So this guy I knew him 12 years.
Yeah, okay. Remember, this is your first program in Hong Kong.
Okay. Actually, it is.
Yeah, we should do a toast. No champagne.
Yeah,
I'm
toast,
sorry.
Yeah.
Just cheer. Yeah. Welcome to our show.
Yeah.
Now, Andy, you start your questions.
Yeah.
They know a lot of Hong Kong movie.
Yeah. Shall I call you Freddie and you Thomas?
Yes.
Yeah. Sure. And first of all, we have to thank both Freddie and Thomas for coming to this program. And I'm terribly sorry that I can't speak French. And so we
don't be.
Hong Kong people even don't know French.
Don't be.
English is really hard for them.
And I'm so glad that we got two handsome European guys here. So please tell us where are you from and what are you doing here?
Start first. Okay, so I'll start. So I'm Thomas Maksimovic. I'm a journalist working in the field of movies and animation cinema. I actually, talking about Asian cinemas, I've actually run a magazine dedicated to Asian cinema back in 2006. And it was a quite interesting moment for Asian movie release, especially in France. And there was like a huge interest in France for those movies. Today I am running a magazine dedicated to animation movies.
Yeah, I saw the cover. It's really nice. Yeah. And may I ask you one question? This is how many years you come to Hong Kong?
Actually, it's my third year in Hong Kong.
Okay.
Actually, it's 3 years. I am covering the film art on the Hong Kong International Film Festival for several medias in France.
What about you, Freddie?
So my name is Frederick. I started as a film critic in the early 2000, and a few years later, I also started to collaborate with French distribution company who were releasing Asian movies in France, especially Hong Kong movies. So I was a consultant, like artistic consultant for a company named Wildside, who released 46 Shaw Brothers titles on DVD. Yes. So I took care of the Shaw Brothers DVD collection for Wildside by doing, the summary or telling the background of the movies or from Shaw Brothers, and I was also doing the documentaries, the extra features, the documentaries about the movies they were releasing. So that's how I actually start to come to Hong Kong often, every year since 2002.
Oh, so such a long time.
Yeah. So actually the first year I came to Hong Kong, it was by myself because I'm a passionate of Hong Kong cinema. So I met some people from Celestial Pictures in Cannes where they saw that I was knowledgeable about Shaw Brothers movies. So when I had the chance to come to Hong Kong in 2002, they invited me to their gala, and that's how I met. I started to meet all the stars that they are my idols.
Good for you, because even for me, I don't have the chances.
Yeah, I admit I was lucky. I was the first time in Hong Kong. I met Gordon Liu. I met before in Cannes I met Cheng Pei. So it was they were my idols. They're still my idols, and I met them. So it was like a dream. So the first year in 2002 when I met all those stars, when I get back to France, I contacted Wildside and said to them that I can collaborate with them about the Shaw Brothers. And first of all, because I didn't direct any documentary before, they only wanted me to write. So they wanted me to write booklets. But I said to them, oh, I shot a little something when I was at the gala in 2002, organized by Celestial Pictures. So I showed them a VHS on some footage of Lin Po singing during the gala, or Gordon Liu watching watching the 36 Chamber of Shaolin, the Western version, while he was drinking wine, you know. So, and they were, you know, they were impressed, and they say, oh, okay, maybe we can consider sending you back to Hong Kong with a camera and start to make some documentary. And I actually convince them by saying that in no other country there is a documentary about Shaw Brothers. So only maybe some promotional documentary by Celestial Pictures, but I say I can go back to Hong Kong, make some exclusive interview with some actor, but not only the actor, but I can find the scriptwriter, I can find the stuntman, because I started to get some connection in Hong Kong. So even if it's a supporting role that you don't really know his name, but I can recognize him and I can find him and I can interview him. That's what I did. So 2003 actually was my first year when I really start to make a lot of interviews with the Hong Kong stars of Shaw Brothers.
That was 10 years ago.
Already.
He also interviewed me about Shaw Brothers.
You know, that was the most difficult time in Hong Kong.
I know.
Because of the epidemic. But I have to tell you that it strikes me as a pleasant surprise that in Hong Kong we don't treasure our own movies. But it seems that in Europe, people like you have such a respect that it becomes a shame of us.
I mean, it's basically a cultural difference. I mean, Asia, and it's pretty common to most Asian countries. There is like a lack of consideration for the past. You know, there is not like a lot of effort to conserve the past. That is why I was always surprised when I talk to people in Hong Kong here about don't you keep props, don't you keep the sets of the movies, everything is destroyed, and it's very difficult now to retrieve it and to eventually build more places to put some memory of the movie history in this town.
But since this interview is about you, but I have to tell you about how we view the French cinema. So,李默講俾我聽 in the 60s or in the 70s, the Nouveau Vogue of French cinema. That was the directors were
Jean-Luc Godard.
Jean-Luc Godard, François Truffaut, Éric Romer.
And you have to realize that actually they are the inspiration of the Hong Kong cinemas.
They were like inspirational for the whole world. It is also always said that they also inspired a lot the new Hollywood generation. Guys like Francis Ford Coppola, Brian De Palma, Martin Scorsese, and many others. And it is true because actually this cinema was like. Let's say like a cultural revolution in France, but which actually matched, let's say, the general cultural worldwide revolution that took place in the old 60s, that concerned music, that concerned politics, that concerned arts, and actually it happened in France, and it could have happened in other country also, because actually the French Nouvelle Vague did not pop up, you know, by itself. Actually, they steal many ideas to Italian realism. Guys like Rossellini, for example. So, I mean, everything is linked.
So when you guys pay a tribute to us, we also have to pay our tribute to you guys.
I understand.
So, you know, this is called global. The movie, the movies, the special movie is so global. You need not, sometimes you not the language, or you only see the visual. It's very
And
nice.
one more thing that I have to tell you is that recently our financial secretary told us that one of the benchmarks or definition of meaning middle class is to watch French movies.
中產階級 and drink
so,
coffee.
do you agree with that? Would you agree with that?
Drink coffee.
Drink coffee and and watching French cinema. I'm not sure what kind of French cinema he was referring to, but anyway, do you think that watching French cinema and drinking coffee makes you a middle class person?
I don't know.
We have to report your answer to this guy.
Let's say it this way, and that is my personal point of view. Many critics don't share that point of view, especially in France. The problem is that the Nouvelle Vague, it was very important, very influential in the 60s. The problem is it gets institutional in France, meaning that today French cinema can't really evolve because they are always stuck, and still today stuck, you know,
in the 60s.
In the 60s, you know, and there is a huge lack of evolution in cinema. So, and actually, it became like a very, let's say, a cinema that is, in some certain sense, a middle class, you know, cinema. Let's say, if not say an upper class, you know, because these movies that really have their origin in the Nouvelle Vague are actually quite boring today. It's like always the same story about upper middle class couples fighting in a fancy apartment in Paris, you know. And I'm not saying this cinema is not interesting, and it has its place and its legitimacy, but actually it is like overwhelming, you know, and they don't leave a lot of space to other ideas, other concepts, other kind of cinema that can eventually come out from the French cinema schools, you know. So that is the problem, you know, with getting institutional.
And going back to the Hong Kong cinema, and I would like to ask Freddie, what kind of features and characteristics of Hong Kong cinema makes you feel that you should come to Hong Kong and see it for yourself?
Okay, so
what motivates your interest?
Because first, when I start to write about movies, it was mostly about Asian movie. Okay, let's say that. Okay, I start to write on a website about DVDs. Okay, and it happened to. I mean, in the beginning, internet was not like so popular about that, and it happens that 2 years later, this website became very famous. You know, very popular about DVDs, and but they didn't have a specialist of Asian cinema. And actually, when I used to read critics, like in a general magazine, you know, not a specialized magazine, usually they made mistakes. They made mistakes on the names of the actors, of the directors, and they sometimes mixed. It's mainland China or Hong Kong. They don't care really, and I was angry about that because, you know, I love the Hong Kong movie. I love Hong Kong cinema, and I think you know, when you talk about a Choi Hark movie, it's not the same when you talk about a Zhang Yimou drama, you know, with Gong Li in in the 80s. And so this is why I really wanted to write about Hong Kong cinema, but with precision, you know, and write about the context. You know, I don't pretend to be like a good writer, but when I really love something, so I make the research about, you know, what I like, and actually I report, you know, the knowledge or the content, the background.
More like a reporter than a critic.
Yeah, than like a fancy film critic or to analyze, you know, the shot.
Like a dictionary.
Yeah, so I mean, I can say why your scene is well made or not well made, but it's not I'm not a judge, you know. So I think my critics were more about telling what it's about, and so people in the West can really, know really the context, you know, the situation, you know, because they don't know the Hong Kong culture. So my critics were more about that, you know.
Yeah.
And I can tell you, actually, when I start to write about Hong Kong cinema, it was about Hong Kong Cantonese comedy.
Yeah.
So which was really not popular at all in France. Nobody knows about Stephen Chow in France at the time when I started to write. Yeah. And actually, it was a bit of the luck. Yeah. A few years later, when I started to write, like 2 years later, Shaolin Soccer was released, you know, in France. And actually,
Stephen Chow.
Yeah, Stephen Chow. So the first Stephen Chow movie released in France was Shaolin Soccer, and it was released theatrically, which was, like a miracle, you know, because Stephen Chow made maybe almost 50 movies before, but nobody hear about him in France. And then Shaolin Soccer, suddenly Shaolin Soccer. But the thing is that Shaolin Soccer made, first of all, a big buzz in Chinatown, because the sources, the original, when I could get my movies, my Hong Kong movies was, okay, sometime in the French video store, sometime in the theater, but there was not so many Hong Kong movies. But in Chinatown, you can find everything. Like in the 90s, 300 Hong Kong movies produced every year. So you can find Show Yun Fat movie, you can find Kirk Wong movie, you can find everything. That's how I really start to, hit Hong Kong cinema and digest and then talk about it. But I got, when I start to write about it, I already have like maybe 10 years of Hong Kong cinema. So when people in France start to hear about Hong Kong cinema, it was with Crouching Tiger, of Charlie Soccer, but they didn't really know about those movies, so they didn't have some reference. When they write about the movies, they just say, oh, it's beautiful, or oh wow, the choreography are great, but they don't know the context, they don't know which that Crouching Tiger was influenced by King Ho movie, So of course, when I start to get interested in Hong Kong cinema, it was in the 80s. So Jackie Chan movie, or Choi Hawk movie, John Woo movie. But when I kind of watch everything of the 80s, I say, oh, let's watch movie of the 70s, and maybe let's watch movie of the 60s. And I could find, I dig in Chinatown, find some VCD of some 60s movie, of an opera movie with Ling Po or Li Yua, historical drama. And I was passionate, so that's why I really digged to search the origin of the influence of the new director like John Woo, Choi Hawk, and things like that. So King Woo, I discovered King Woo, I discovered Leon Xiang, that kind of veteran director.
I didn't realize Stephen Chow is so popular in Paris.
He became popular with Shaolin Soccer. Actually, if you said, to a French, some French people, have you seen Shaolin Soccer? Oh yes, this is the movie of Kung Fu and football, but they will not say it's a Stephen Chow movie, right? They will not say that. Even when Kung Fu Hustle was released after, it was not as successful as Shaolin Soccer. So you cannot say the only names that are really popular in the West. I think it's Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan,
and it's the
and that's it. I mean, really,
that people can really identify.
And now and now the directors' name who are famous, it's because those directors became famous in Hollywood first, like John Woo, like Win Whooping, choreographer Win Whooping, because of the Matrix. Now people can say, oh, Win Whooping, I heard this name. It was from the Matrix or from, Win Whooping brother from the Charlie's Angels series, But people in the West don't really get the names, Maybe Show Yun Fat, because Show Yun Fat made these American movies, But every time, when I was young, when I was in high school, I had to really fight, not fight for real, but like, I had to really, say, well, when those Bruce Willis movies were released in the movies, in the theaters, and say, oh, Bruce Willis movie, Die Hard 2, Die Hard 3, wow, it's fabulous, I never seen that before. I say, oh, but I've seen that already in a Hong Kong movie, it's the same scene, So, and I say, you're kidding me, Hong Kong movies not like that, They, what are you talking about? And I was like, okay, I bring you a VHS tomorrow. And so I bring, oh, look, The Killer, look, Hardball, John Woo. I say, look,
VHS, really old thing.
And I say, look at the scene, like, this scene is 10 times better than the American movie. And actually I have to bring my friend in front of the TV and put the John Woo in front of the eye. And when you watch, for example, The Killer, the ending of The Killer, he gets like, wow, I've never seen that before. And then when we watch the American movies, say, okay, that's nothing, actually, that's really nothing, And the American movies was like 10 times or 12 times more expensive than the Hong Kong movie. But what I liked about Hong Kong cinema, what I really get into Hong Kong cinema, is because with a small budget, they can do a lot of great action scenes, with ideas, in a Choi Hawk production by Ching Siu Tong. All the special effects with the Chinese ghost story, they use, comment on dit fumer? They use the smoke, they use the smoke to hide the wire, they don't use any computer effects at the time, and with a lot of ideas, with the editing, the good editing, good ideas, and you can have like a very a movie with rhythm, a movie with energy, a movie, with originality, and of course there is plus the Hong Kong culture, if you don't really get it, but you get something anyway, and if you really like it, you make some research and know about, why, about the Chinese ghost story, about the vampire.
I tell you what, there is a wireman, Liu Jialiang's like brother, Lau Jialiang,
the brother of Gordon Liu.
They discover wire almost by that time 咧，佢哋如來神掌啊，Did you see 如來神掌？
I don't think they have any idea about it.
Okay,
forget about it.
It's a 50.
In the 50s, they are very cheap kung fu.
But they
I've seen them, the Buddha spam.
The Buddha spam.
Yeah, and that Chen Xiaopeng passed away a few years ago, and then he was the in the circus 馬戲班啊，空中飛人啊。
In the circus, they have this overhanging.
The fighting man in the circus, that guy is the first time to make sure how to use the wire. You should interview
the
him.
acrobats in the circus.
They were insured by wire. In fact,
with wire.
佢喺嗰個咧做金眼神雕啊，佢自己嘅特技人嚟嘅，最有名。
The stuntman.
Yeah, so they actually discovered that they can use it in another way. In fact.
But so pretty, he passed away.
Yeah, and going back to the Hong Kong cinema, and you just mentioned about the action and the kung fu, and I guess one of the reasons why you find it so attractive is that you can get over the language barrier.
Yes.
Even if you have no idea what they were talking about, but once you watch the action, then you can sense the kind of grace and elegance in motion. Do you think that is the chief attraction of the Hong Kong cinema?
Of course it is, because even for Hong Kong audiences, I mean, it is the most popular kind of movie, and because and actually we were just talking about that a few minutes ago, that precisely only martial arts movies, kung fu movies, cross the frontier to come to Western countries, and other kind of comedies, dramas, musicals never did it. So why is that? Because actually it is so unique. I mean. You have a tradition of musical, in Europe you have a tradition of musical, especially in the United States, but you don't have a tradition of martial art in Europe. It is the most specific kind of movie in Hong Kong, and that is why I think it went in the end so popular in the whole world.
But seeing it from another angle, the advantage turned into disadvantage because this will stereotype the whole genre. So you say that the people like the action movie or kung fu movie very much, but that becomes the barrier to the Hong Kong movie of other genres, such as
precisely
love story, and social drama,
but
things like
also
that.
When those movie arrives, those kung fu movies, so not only like kung fu and swordplay movie, right? Two kind of movies, but actually people don't really make the difference in the West, right? They say kung fu movie, you're like bare hand movie, and swordplay movie, but in France they call it karate movie, so it's not even the same martial arts that are practiced in the movie, Karate is a Japanese martial art, and so you can see it in the Japanese movie of the 70s with Sonny Chiba, for example. But when those movies arrived, so they kind of mixed together, even if it was an Asian movie, so Japanese, Hong Kong, they were releasing them the same. They can, for example, they released a new one-armed swordsman, Torpedo, the remake with David Chang and T. Long. They released it in France. It was the biggest success of a Shaw Brothers movie in France, in theater and in video stores. The thing is, in the punchline they put the most ruthless samurai, or the guy is not a samurai, it's the Chinese swordsman, but on the cover they put a samurai, so it means that the guys, they don't know what they are talking about, at least for the stories. It's just, for them, it's just an Asian action movie with martial arts, and so they release it that way.
But to be fair, we also fail to make the kind of differentiation in European cinema.
it is probably true also on the
I
other way.
guess it's the same way.
It could have at least be a little bit, more better. It could have developed more better or what is an accurate, marketing. But I mean, it's at least the movie released, but actually it is the fate of the early kung fu movie in Europe. I mean. It was only considered as commercial movies because of the spectacular aspects, they just don't care precisely about the cultural background and the accuracy, you know, of this culture.
And they didn't care also about the dubbing, because most of the movies were badly dubbed in French, of course in English, in the English.
So you see Stephen Chow speaking in French?
No. Okay, I'm talking about the first Hong Kong movie I was in France was movies from the 70s and the 80s.
Yes.
The Five Fingers of Death with Loli, or the New One-Armed Swordsman, or Chung Pui Pui movie by Romain Gua, The Lady Hermit. Yeah. Those were the first movie released in France. Okay, some of them had the Cantonese or Mandarin version in French subtitle, but a few of them only. Most of them were released in French dub. So you had this David Chiang or Dilong speaking French, but with the Chinese accent, bad Chinese accent, like because
just like Chinese character in the Hollywood cinema,
like my French,
no, but, you know, just like stereotyped.
It's very stereotyped, and the thing is, even if it's a serious movie, like a first-degree serious movie, with the dubbing, people will see it as a comedy. You know what I mean? And especially if there is some spectacular scene, because it's so over the top, it's so spectacular, it's too much, because
it becomes ridiculous.
It becomes like, because people, people who never see martial art movies before seeing that, you know, they will be so impressed. They will laugh. This is the only reaction they will have. They will not say, "Wow," you know, like or. Because they don't, if they don't identify to the character, they will take it as, oh, this is too much, this is ridiculous, or this is, you know. Yeah. And the thing is, this was a problem, you know. So between a Hong Kong movie fan, and the regular audience, there is maybe like a big hole, a gap. And that's why, you know, I can play a Hong Kong movie at my place, and one people never see Hong Kong movie, and there is the other people is like watching Hong Kong movie all the time, and these people will laugh during a dramatic scene, and the other people will cry, you know. So you know, you never know. So this is one of the problem who happened. And about Stephen Chow, I'm telling you, it was only in the early 2000s. So since the 90s, with the collection initiated by Christophe Gans, HK, it was HK magazine, and there were also the collection HK video. So he started to release Hong Kong movie. Hong Kong are also some Japanese movies, but mostly Hong Kong movies.
For the first time in
VHS, but original version Cantonese with French subtitle. Yeah. So it was really like the original language. Yeah. So it was really for cinephiles, you know. It was not like in the video store when you rent the video before, only French dub. Jackie Chan dubbed in French. Yeah. Bruce Lee dubbed in French, you know. Yeah.
I like that very much.
But of course, and there is this thing, because, you know, there is this...
I really want to hear.
There is this a bit like it's a pervert thing. It's like, because most, like, not my generation, but the generation before me, like those who have like 40-something years old now, they discover those movies in the theater. I discovered in video the Jackie Chan movie, but I never see a Bruce Lee movie in the theater. So I have some friends that are in the 40s, 45 something. They discover Bruce Lee in the theaters. They discover New One-Armed Swordsman in the theater, and Five Fingers of Death in the theater, and they remember the French dub of that time. So when they re-release it, we released those movies in DVD recently, like 10 years ago. They wanted to hear the original bad dub in French, you know, but since the rights, you know, the copyright holder are different now, so they don't have the right of the original dub, the French dub. So they make another French dub. They make the original version for the DVD, but also another French dub with different voices. And when people buy the DVD, they say, it's not the original French dub, you know, that I see in the theater, you know. It's a matter of nostalgia. So when I was a consultant for Wildside for the Shaw Brothers, I had to actually put more efforts to promote the movie we were not released in France before. So for New One-Armed Swordsman, for Five Fingers of Death, they sell well, you know. But for movie who were never released in France, like the 14 Amazons, which is masterpiece, or the 8 Diagram Pole Fighter with Gordon Liu, which is, in my opinion, one of the best movies by Lo Carlong, I had to put more effort to promote the movie, saying, oh, this is a real masterpiece from Shaw Brothers, but it was not released before, but believe me, you know, it's like one of the best. But French people don't know, so they will be like, we don't know if we have to buy it. But new one Armed Forces, but I saw it 30 years ago when I was a kid, so I will buy this one. So they will not try to make the effort of discover new things, you know. And that's why my job was to write and say, yeah, but there was Chang-Chi movie. You saw it when you were a kid. You saw the Bruce Lee movie. You saw some Gordon movie, but they'd never seen a Chow movie, for example.
Yeah.
And for me, Chow movie were one of the best swordplay movie produced by Shaw Brothers, especially Chow the movie's adaptation from Gulong, and it was, and they were for me, wow, you know, I was, you know, I had to.
You love it, then?
I love them. I love them.
Oh, you know what? He likes
she knows sorry.
He likes poem.
Yeah.
He thinks he is a great poem writer. He is a very romantic guy, actually.
Yeah, and you can feel that in the martial art movie he made, because he says that in interviews that he was not interested in martial arts. He was interested in the character and the stories.
Yes.
But still, he was working with Tong Kai, who was doing the choreography.
Really different with Zhang Chen.
Yeah. So that's why you have a good. So he didn't really care about the choreography. Tong Kai did the good choreography and stuff, and the story was really great. You know, all the betrayals. You know, and it was very modern subject matter. It was about money, power, politics, you know, sex, and you cannot find that now in Hong Kong martial art movies. Chow Yun was the most daring director who made actually the most accurate, the most you know, faithful adaptation of Gulong novels. Now, if some Chinese director wants to adapt a Gulong novel, there is no sex. No corruption.
Because of the
Chinese market.
Censorship.
Yeah, censorship. And it's a shame because when I discovered Korean movie, so I didn't know about Korean movie in the 80s or the 90s. When I discovered when they were released in the 2000, I made the research about Gulong. So I searched online the Gulong novels translated in English because it was not released.
Really?
You have some crazy fans.
We didn't know about that.
No, but you have some crazy fans. They are translating online on the forum, you know. You say, I watched this movie, this great movie, you know, The Swordsman and the Enchantress. And say, I know this story. And there is my friend, I have a friend, he speaks Vietnamese, so he was translating from Chinese to Vietnamese and from Vietnamese to French to me, so I can read the original Gulong novels.
So exciting!
No, next time.
No, because I was really impressed by the quality of the novel and the subject matter, and I think only maybe Choi Hark tried to get the spirit of these novels in some of his movies.
You don't need to ask that guy next time. Ask me. I'll tell you the whole story about. Okay. I do the translation for you. Okay.
You Shola Hong?
From Chinese.
I think he will do better than you show.
Better than.
And
your friend.
I tell you some secret. I even know my friend. I suddenly found out 2 months ago when Kulong passed away, and my friend took the 即係接啊，幫佢續啊。
That guy wrote the remaining story for Gulong. We actually know this guy. But going back to that Hong Kong movie, and I'm really sorry to tell you guys that you guys are much more knowledgeable about Hong Kong movie than I do.
Especially him.
I have to tell you.
Shall we take a break?
One more question. You guys are very hardworking and enthusiastic about Hong Kong cinema, but what about the cinema themselves? Do they actually want to release the Hong Kong cinema to the French audience, French viewers?
Many cases, you know. I can tell you the Hong Kong film history in France. I mean, because every Hong Kong movie released in France, I was like checking, you know, like looking for them. So there were this VHS release first. Of course, there was a Jackie Chan movie, okay, and some Shaw Brothers movie.
Essentially in the early 70s.
Okay, but when I was like a kid, I was 13 years old. I saw my first Jackie Chan on big screen. It was Project A. It is one of the best movie made by Jackie Chan. So I saw it on theater. I was impressed. You know, I was blown away. And But most of the Hong Kong movies, like the new wave, like for movies from the 80s, like Chinese Ghost Story or Gunman by Kirk Wong, or even RoboForce, you know, when Sally Ye plays the robot. You remember this movie? With Troy Hawk. Troy Hawk is an actor in it. Yeah. Those movies were released only in VHS and only for rental. Not even you cannot buy them. You just rent them. So I remember when I rent those movies, and even A Better Tomorrow before John Woo became popular in France. They released it in a VHS, only French dub, and it was like a full screen, not in CinemaScope's full screen. And I didn't really like it because the French dub was quite bad, and I found also that the melodramatic side of John Woo was maybe too much. But then when I discovered The Killer and those other movies, I said, oh wow, actually it's very good. And I rewatch Better Tomorrow, but in original language, and say, oh, finally it's a good movie, you know. And
what movie?
Yeah, they first released them in VHS, and then when Hard Boiled was released, the last movie by John Woo in Hong Kong with Chow Yun-fat and Tony Leung Chiu-wai.
Of course.
This movie was released in a theater, okay, and it was actually not.
And Tony
Leung Chiu-wai. No, with the baby in the hospital, the big action movie.
Anthony Wong.
Hard Boiled.
Wong Shou-sang as a bad guy.
應該係呢個碟血雙唔係碟血雙雄，應該係辣手神探。
Okay, this movie, so it was the first time that a Hong Kong movie was released not so long after the original Hong Kong release. So we got in France Hard Boiled maybe in 1993. It was made in 1992. And it was really spectacular and stuff. So, and of course, it was the same period when John Woo started to go to Hollywood. So there was a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, Our Target, released more or less at the same time. And then people start to see, wow, John Woo movies are great, And then Metropolitan Film Export, who owns the right of some previous John Woo movies, they make like a kind of retrospective on John Woo movie, but only in a theater. Yes. So they released Better Tomorrow Part 1, Better Tomorrow Part 2, The Killer, Bullet in the Head, and of course Hard Boiled. They released Hard Boiled, I think.
There was like 6 movies, I don't remember the last one.
Maybe the one with Lam Xingying, the Hero Sheds No Tears, or maybe On the Thief, I don't remember. But anyway, at least there was those 5 John Woo movies, the great John Woo movies. But the thing is, still, it was not like the big success, Actually, the big success of Hong Kong cinema went with Wong Kar-wai, with Chungking Express in '94. Yeah, and
yes, but in a much like in an art house. But it was in the art house theater. It was really successful. Yeah.
Well, why European and French people love Wang Jiawei? It's a bit like the Europe New Wave.
It seems like he was of course he was influenced by the new wave.
He was very attractive for the French critics,
Yes,
because
so you can look back.
So French.
Look back to the old 60, yeah.
Yeah, Days of Being Wild. It's like a French movie.
Yes.
That is why.
Yeah. Okay. Shall we take a break here and drink some coffee?
Sure.
Sure. Thank you.
Sure, son.